U.S. President Donald Trump is asking oil executives for at least $100 billion in spending for Venezuela. He promised oil giants, quote, total safety, total security. But some executives say significant changes are needed to make that country an attractive investment. Here's what the CEO of Exxon said.
We haven't been in the country for almost 20 years. We think it's absolutely critical in the short term that we get a technical team in place to assess the current state of the industry and the assets, to understand what would be involved to help the people of Venezuela get production back on the market. With the invitation of the Venezuelan government and with appropriate security guarantees, we are ready to put a team on the ground there.
So Exxon maybe not ready to move tomorrow or right away. But what is all this going to mean for Canadian oil? I want to bring in Rob Breckenridge. He is a Calgary Herald columnist. Rob, it's good to have you on this. I've been wondering what your thoughts are.
Yeah, it's interesting. Look, I don't know that this is an existential threat to Canada just yet. I think as you heard in the clip there, there's a lot of work that's going to need to be done and a lot of money spent to really build up oil production in Venezuela to anything like what it once was. So Canada doesn't need to panic just yet. And even once that oil starts flowing, that goes to the Gulf Coast, and much of what Canada exports goes to refineries in the Midwest. But it is competition, and I think it's something Canada should be aware of. And with the potential of fewer Venezuelan barrels going to places like China, there's also those opportunities. So I do think it gives more urgency to the conversation around diversifying our trading partners and finding new markets, which, of course, in this context, speaks directly to the pipeline conversation.
Yeah, I mean, it's competition. I mean, it may not be immediate, but it is competition that hasn't existed, and potentially, given what we're hearing from the U.S. president, he's really looking for it to happen. And Alberta Premier Danielle Smith is urging Ottawa now to approve a pipeline by the fall. I think I read that she was going to submit the proposal by June at the latest. Could this signal Canada's oil? I mean, is that not a sign that there is concern in Canada's oil patch?
Well, perhaps there is. I mean, the conversation around a new pipeline, precedes all these developments, obviously. But it was interesting to see that letter that Danielle Smith posted in the comments to the Prime Minister. I think we're already at that point where the federal government is open to this, and both sides have made some concessions around how this would move forward. But obviously what needs to happen now is a specific proposal being submitted to the Major Projects Office. So that means bringing in private partners, starting to establish what a route would look like, beginning those consultations. So there's a lot of work to be done. And basically Danielle Smith in her letter is kind of reiterating what's already been stated, that there's an urgency to this. We want the federal government to use this new tool to accelerate the project, and there's work to be done. So it's understandable, I guess, why Danielle Smith wants to champion this or be seen to be championing this at a time where it's a real concern. Maybe the more pressing issue, though, for Alberta is a further softening of oil prices. Already, Alberta's facing a pretty big deficit for the fiscal year that's just ending. The budget that they're going to have to table in the next couple of months could be even uglier. So less focus on that, understandably, right now in the Premier's social media post. But that's another big challenge for Alberta related to all of this.
So the timeline for a pipeline, talking about the fall, talking about a proposal to be submitted by spring. Some of the comments I was reading was, why would a proposal take that long? I mean, many people in Alberta, of course, very familiar with the route that was already mapped out for Northern Gateway, and that didn't fly. Is this timeline feasible?
Well, potentially, we'll see. I mean, Canada Day was sort of set as the original deadline to have an official proposal submitted. But that's really the beginning of the process. Obviously, even under the expedited process laid out through the Major Projects Office, there are still steps along the way, and this isn't going to happen overnight. And I think maybe one of the lessons we've learned from the past, and I think proponents are trying to make this point, that we need to try to get ahead of things, right? This situation isn't an existential threat to Canada right now, but let's not wait around until it is. If we're proactive now, if we do it the right way and hopefully learn the lessons of where things went sideways in the past, like on Northern Gateway, we'll be in a good position a few years from now. Because I think best case scenario, we're probably looking at 5 years to get a new pipeline completed or close to completion.
Have those lessons been learned? I mean, I don't need to get into all of them, but there was a lot of confidence when it came to Northern Gateway pipeline. I remember it. And as I say, it didn't work out. So what is going to, how is this going to be done differently that's going to make it work?
Well, I mean, there's the lessons from the pipelines that didn't go ahead, and then there's the lessons from the pipeline that did, looking at how Trans Mountain finally got over the finish line, the expansion project. But, there is no shortcut here, even if the Major Projects Office speeds things up a bit. Like you heard the Conservatives, calling on the Prime Minister to immediately approve a pipeline. Well, I mean, A, there's no proposal for him to approve. And B, I mean, if it were that easy, then the Conservatives could have just rubber stamped the Northern Gateway pipeline and it would be up and running. So it really isn't that easy. But I think there is such an importance around this kind of a project that it's incumbent on everybody to get it right. And there's a lot for Alberta to do. There's a lot for Ottawa to do. And so, yeah, they can exchange letters and social media posts. But I think really right now it's about getting that work done.
Rob Breckenridge, Calgary Herald columnist, thanks so much.
Right on. Thanks, Sarah.